Hi, in this video I will do part 3 of the family coach or family counseling that I went through with the house next door. Here we identify the short-term goal number 1. There was no number 2, okay. Was to identify triggers of anger for Daniel when speaking with Anna or the wife. Alright, so number 1 is the TV, because even now, this is 2014, this is 4 years after this, 4 years later, the TV is constantly on. And even if it isn't on, it's on during dinner from 6 o'clock to, now that we're in the summer with no school for the kids, until 11 o'clock at night. And the TV shows are not beneficial. Another anger trigger is the kids when they argue. So I keep my son, who is the respectful one, I keep him away from my daughter so that they won't argue. Because particularly not to go into her room, because an hour after he's in there or sometime, she yells, "Get out of my room!" So it's just easier, and that triggers my protection response, which means I'm right next to him in a second. I move fast. And I tell him, if you love me, stay out of your sister's room. Which he does most of the time, but she wants to give him candy. I tell him already, narcissists like his sister and his mother and my mother, grandma, they give you something nice today, and they're mean to you tomorrow, and the next day they're nice, and then they're mean again. So the best way is to set up boundaries. Like if the wife wants to talk to me, she has to come into this room. I don't go anywhere that she is. I don't go anywhere in this house. I go eat, come back. I eat here or I eat outside. Another trigger for my anger is driving with the kids, because they start arguing. My daughter used to kick my chair as I was driving. I would move like that. She was 9 years old. So I would just pull over and walk around the car. One time they received mosquito bites because I pulled over in a wooded section. Another trigger for anger is lack of sex, because if the wife doesn't want to give me sex, then of course I get angry. The way I fix this now is not by yelling until she gives me sex, or that didn't work anyway, but I used to yell, "I need sex, please, I need sex," but that doesn't help. The only way that I can get the wife to do things, to give me sex, is if I stay in this room. That's the only way. Because then she comes in here and she says, "Do you want sex?" And I say, "Yes, thank you." All right. Now, no chores for kids. That's another trigger, because I believe kids, they're not learning anything useful at school, in my opinion. So they should learn carpentry. They should learn to wash dishes and cook. I'm the only one that pushes my son to cook. The wife sees no benefit, and she does recently, now that he's 9, and she's this year, 2014, the wife has been teaching my son to cook, because I ask politely, and I ask, maybe I'm doing dishes or something, and then she says she's going to cook, and that's how I ask. Interventions, action steps. Sessions are once a week. Counselor will take advantage of clients' verbal skills to teach, then model effective communication techniques, which are non-threatening, appropriate to the situation, and effective at problem solving. The main reason for my having the family counseling, besides DCF being called I took away my son's candy from school, which is another reason I don't want him to go to school. The teacher gave him candy, and I took it away and I threw it away. And what happened was my son grabbed a knife and pulled it on his throat, a kitchen knife. So I said, please don't destroy yourself. And he was 6 years old. So what happened next was DCF. That couldn't have been the incident, because this is when. Well, let's see. If it's 2010, he was born in 2004. That is the incident. Yeah, 6 years. So that's. I told that to the school counselor, and that's how that took. At a parenting meeting, they have counseling for kids and things. Usually they deal with things like how to get the kids to do homework, but that's not a problem here. If you read to your kids when they're babies and little toddlers, then they will be able to do the homework that is given to them. All right, setting limits. Skills to be taught include, but are not limited to, setting limits. All right, so the main reason I wanted the counselors to keep coming was because this way my wife would sit down and speak in English, because she doesn't want to speak to me. Back then, she didn't want to talk to me at all. She's a nonverbal person. She doesn't speak much. And she's a hot reactor, which means she gets angry faster than I do. I blow up once a year or every once in a while. However, she blows up every single day, every couple of hours. And so then, what's happening with a narcissist, though, is that since she's a woman, they think I'm the one. The family coach, everybody thinks I'm the one that has the serious anger issues. And she has them just as much as I do, if not more, since hers are daily. I used to smile at her, and then she would get angrier, or I could dance, or I would start pumping a chair with my hips when I needed sex. Now, I know that wasn't going to give me any sex, but I did it because it would get her angrier. But now, when someone has a wound and you put your finger in it, which is what I was doing, then that person really doesn't like you very much. So when she gets angry, I just stay here in my room and I look at her like this. And she has begun to respect me because of that. Little things upset her. The roommate put the washer in, but he forgot to put the clothes inside. It could happen to anyone. So the washer washed with water, but by itself, with no clothes inside. The tenant, he put his clothes in the washer, but then he left them there and he didn't put them in the dryer. And she had to go knock on his door about 2 hours later to go get his clothes. I don't know if he was home. We don't know really if it was the roommate that moved the tenant's clothes to the dryer. And then turned on the washing machine and it was on by itself. I mean, to me, they're very tiny things. But to her, it upsets her because she couldn't do her laundry. And I'm thinking it's Monday. Why are all three of them doing laundry at the same time? The same day. All right. So, assist Daniel with development of pro-social ways of expressing anger. Daniel will learn about timeouts, stress management via deep breathing, thinking cool thoughts instead of hot thoughts. She did this to me. Mm. Counselor will take advantage of client's desire to improve his parenting skills. Daniel will learn about appropriate discipline and parenting techniques. Timeout, redirecting negative behavior, rewarding positive behavior. This one is from, they didn't cover it, but on my own, Positive Discipline by Dr. Jane Nelson. That advice is to just send a kid to his room, and it's a fun time actually, because they probably have computers and everything in there. Just go to your room and be by yourself for a while. The problem I have is that with my daughter, like yesterday, I had dinner sitting down at the table with all of them. The neighbor was here, the roommate was here, as usual, he's there. But I drink out of a peanut butter jar. Two things. This way I get all the peanut butter that stays in the jar at the end. I also read that Russian soldiers used to do that. The special forces, things like that. The name of the book is, I don't remember right now, but it mentioned the rules of combat. I will treat you all the same. As far as like your own men, if I'm your boss, I'll treat you all the same. And the more you train, the less you bleed in battle. So in that book, I read parts of it. I like the 10 commandments of battle or something. All right. And that book is from a military relative that gave it, or left it here, or I found that book in the library after I saw Rogue Warrior. That's the book he was reading. Of course, I didn't read all of it because it got boring for me. They see each other as dogs, and their commanding officer is called the good dog rewarder or something. Good dog, come here, good dog. You did your mission, good job. And their vocabulary is not very polite. However, I did learn about the little things, like being a security guard for rich people. You need to know how to get in and get out of a mall without getting lost. That was one. And so these special security guards, they used to travel to France, to England, to Germany, to Italy, to China, to the United States, and they just learned how to protect people in a mall. One of them mentioned how he was a driver, but he was from the Bahamas and he had forgotten his gloves. Something so little. But he didn't have gloves, and he had to go shopping in a slippery Russian winter. Apparently they send you to go shopping also if you work as a bodyguard. All right. Conclusion. We have participated in the development of this plan. All right. Client's comments. Yes, the man's visit here to the house was helpful. Not as much as the Jehovah's Witnesses when the Jehovah's Witnesses visit me, it's two men. Their desire is that I read the Bible and then become one of them, a Jehovah's Witness, which they call the true Christians or into the truth. And they have many rules, like you cannot smoke, you cannot drink. You cannot drink and get drunk, that's the thing. You could drink, but moderately. But there's definitely no smoking. So I like this group of Jehovah's Witnesses because they are more helpful to me. Number one, it's a long-range friendship type of thing. Whereas with the counselor, he came for 2 months, 3 months. Was it 4 months? But they're more concerned, or this one was more concerned, in my signing his timesheet. Because one time he told me to sign it, and I instantly signed it. And I said, wait a minute. Now I say, wait a minute. I'm supposed to know what I'm signing. I know what there were his timesheets, but still, there should be signed on each occasion that he comes, not, sign these last 3 that I never got signed last time. Because he was in a rush. You can't be in a rush. But he did tell me, I have learned more from you, Daniel, in this last session than I did in all my previous visits. Because it's only once a week. And basically I told him how I talked to him about virginity. I talked to him about my mother-in-laws. I called them mother-in-laws, but there were 3 women particularly that I met. My previous girlfriend, her mother called me her son, and I love this lady. The one before that, with my first wife, I didn't meet her mom. But this second wife here right now, I met her mother, and that's how she was 68 pounds. She was a skeleton. And that's how, just by telling him that, the counselor understands my wife more and understands me more now. All right, so this is the end. If you have problems, family coaching is not the way to go. The best way is for you to memorize Bible verses. You can do so with me. I'll be able to help you. You could start with John 3:16. If you have money problems, any type of problem, God can fix it. However, you gotta ask for God's help. And He will send you people. And these people will ask you to do things. The Jehovah's Witnesses have been helpful to me. I am very grateful to God and to them for their friendship when nobody else has time. Like in the United States, you have friends, but nobody really has time. And these friends, they have problems too. The Jehovah's Witnesses have problems, but the Bible verses and the way they speak to you can help you. They're polite to you. Their wives don't give you dirty looks. That's what I'm talking about. But if you have friends, most of the time, in my experience, their wives didn't like me. Because I didn't work, because they knew that my wife worked out and did everything. They had some reason. Some people call me lazy, but I'm not lazy at all. If you want me to read with you, I'll read with you. God bless you. Take care of yourself. Memorize those Bible verses and you will fix your life. I'm Daniel Carone, 1972 at Facebook.com.